Welcome, fellow synthesizer sickos. I am Vulture Culture, and this is the Novation XioSynth. I think I'm saying it correctly. From 2007. So what is the Zeosynth? It is a kind of under the radar, Novation synth based off of the A station. So for me, when we start talking about vintage Novations, it's like we have the original base station, right? Kind of the defining analog mono synth of the 90s. And then we get the Supernova in 1998 or so, if I'm recalling correctly. And that is a really great virtual analog synth. They went on to put out a Supernova 2 around 2000. And then I sort of black out. I forget completely like that Novation exists until about 2009 when they put out the Launchpad, right? So that would be a big step for them. Integration with Ableton Live. I feel like there's an entire generation of music making interaction with synths stops there. They just use that in Ableton Live, and that's how they make electronic music. And then I want to say in 2013, they put out the Base Station 2. 2015, they put out the Circuit, right? 2017, they put out the Peak, right? So that's basically where we're at. The Summit's just two peaks together. So this kind of era right here, 2007, a couple of years before, the Launchpad comes out. This is like a weird area for me. So they took the Supernova and then they plussed it and they made the A station, which confusingly is what they call a KS synth, because the subsequent synths after that were KS synths. So they're all kind of using about the same engine, although depending on who you ask, this might have had a couple of things they added to it that wasn't there. So very, it's X station technology. It's sort of a cut down X station, but it's got a couple of things too. So tonight, welcome in Perfect Sequence. What we're going to do is we're just going to play a bunch of presets. And that's what's so great about a synth like this is you've got so many presets and you've got controls for it. And, it's actually pretty cleverly laid out. I was using the XY pad here, which is routed to filter and resonance. But of course, we could do the same thing just by controlling those over here. If we want to get it tighter, that's the decay there. Yeah, microKORG definitely like that sort of a thing. That would have been coming out around the same time, I want to say. And what's interesting is last week we checked out the Nord Lead 2, and a lot of people were upset with me for my opinion on the Nord Lead 2, which was not great. And that's an interesting thing about talking about synths on the internet. Obviously, I can't love everything. But this little synth, there's something about expectations in the way that it's like, okay, maybe a synth like this that you can see is not going to be, a flagship synthesizer the way the Nord Lead 2 is. Maybe that changes your expectations. And I'm like, maybe it's not so bad that you just have some presets and you tweak them. So let's play some presets. This is big bass. And immediately, I'm getting like this high end that I was missing from last week's stream with the Nord Lead 2. lots of digital resonance, you know, for better or worse. Always love a phase locked detune. So that's what we're hearing here. For those of you guys who aren't virtual analog snobs, can I get some scum snobs in the chat? What we're hearing is a different kind of sound than you would get from an analog synth. So the only synth that I have that can do this type of sound is an Ensoniq SQ80 can do it because it's got digital oscillators. And so instead of all the oscillators beating kind of against each other randomly, they're all phase locked. And then as you detune them, you get this very characteristic sound. And we have a detune knob here. So I would try to set it to 0 and see what it sounds like. Okay, so I've just set it, I think, to 0. Oh, interesting. I'm not really hearing much of a difference with the detune, to be honest. I think it's because oscillator 1 isn't the one we're really hearing here. Let's try oscillator 2. Yeah, it's an interesting sound. This is the one that I started with, Grapefruit Dream, which is definitely a tribute to Tangerine Dream, right? Actually sounds really great. You know, so while we're checking out these presets, it's clear to me too that this might not be the best synth when it comes to, how do I say it? Like if you want to make your own sounds, which is something like the Nord Lead 2 has in spades over this, right? This really, I think it would be a bitch to actually do the sound design on this, although not terrible. I'm sure it's possible. It's actually pretty cool. And real quick here, can I get a scum cheers in the chat for Rob for lending me the synthesizers, also known as Swords and Synthesizers? Thank you very much, Rob, for making this stream possible. I appreciate you. What a fun synthesizer. Cheers, guys. Immediately getting some really interesting stuff. So it's kind of cool because what we're really looking at here, and I probably should have said this at the beginning, but we're sort of getting a MIDI controller with a synthesizer and an audio interface built into it, because that's what this is. But it's also just a MIDI controller. You know, when you look at a lot of MIDI controllers, they kind of look like this, especially in the 25 key range. So, you know, that's one of the really cool aspects of this. And I noticed that when I moved into a different mode, I'm not going to do it now, but it actually had mappings for familiar plugins. And one of them I saw was REFX Vanguard, one of my favorite plugins of all time. Almost vintage now, right? And so at first it was like, wow, it's fucking awesome, because you could do the filter and all of that directly from here. And then I thought about it, I'm like, well, it's okay, but at the same time, it's kind of like then you're messing around with this, and you could MIDI learn these knobs, so it's not the end of the world, but it's still nice to have it. Has to. I didn't think about that with the little joystick here, which is basically our version of a mod wheel. It's kind of similar to the Korg, like DW8000, even like the way that it's a joystick in that it can control mod and pitch at the same time. But I really like the XY pad. I hadn't considered using the mappings for your rack synth, so having an XY pad in. You do need to apply some pressure, but this is a decent sounding virtual analog. It would be interesting to shoot it out versus Vanguard because it's kind of in that area. Beautiful. So we're hearing some FM in there. Welcome, my friend. Yeah, I actually do think this little bastard sounds pretty decent. How's it going, Lonnie, Todd Phipps? We got so many people here, so many of the homies. So welcome. I want to know what you guys think. I think the synth sounds a little bit better than you might, give it credit for. One little feature that might not be obvious here is a lot of times when you take your finger off an XY pad, you sort of like lose the position. But like, let's say I just want to find like a filter. And it remembers it. Yeah, so, to my ears, I sort of think this synth exists somewhere between REFX Vanguard and actually the Blofeld. It reminds me a lot of the Waldorf synths. It has a decent resonance character. I mean, so did the Nord lead. But there's something in there that kind of gives you a little, ooh. I saw the one you're looking at, Sean Johnson. By the way, welcome, my friend. Jumping Man, how's it going? Sean, that one's $179, and then the shipping, if I recall, was like $66. So it's like $245 out the door from Music Sound Tokyo in Japan, where I actually bought my MS-20 and my Roland SH2. Now, you know, they're one of those Japanese sellers, and I'm not trying to be, you know, any sort of way, but they'll sell stuff, right? They're not really going over their stuff with making sure they're not really vintage synth refurbishers. They sell the stuff. So just keep that in mind whenever you buy from them. Having said that, you can get some really great deals from them. So, and of course, if it doesn't show up in the condition they said it did, you just, return it on Reverb. That's a great thing about Reverb and eBay. I heard this sound when I was started it up, and then I lost it, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool. Maybe I'll use this for the intro." But James Porch, welcome. Nick motherfucking Destruct, welcome. Adapt motherfucking Manipulate, welcome. How's it going? What a cool sound. Sometimes they do, Lonnie, sometimes they don't. I have a bunch of these little step down converters or step up transformers, whatever they're fucking. I always get it wrong in these videos, and then people get mad at me. They're like, it doesn't make sense. If you search on Amazon, American to Japanese to American power or whatever, type it in right. They're usually like $30, something like that. And yes, Hans, it is an interface. Everything's built in. I think it runs on batteries if you want. Yeah, sure thing, Mom. So, Nasty Bass here. What I think it'll be routed to is the frequency and resonance. It's the most common thing. This is set up when the sound designer made this patch. They stored what they wanted the X and Y to be, or is it X? It's X and Y, right? Let me think about that for a second. No, wait, is it X and Y, right? Yeah, I think so. So then, when I press a key, that's kind of the sound unmodulated, but as I move it, that will be one parameter, and then Y will be the other. Someone tell me if Y is up, right? Or am I fucking stupid? So we've got cutoff on the X axis here. Thank God I'm not too stupid. Y is vertical. And then Y might be resonance. It is resonance. Now, because this particular patch is so distorted, this might not be obvious to everybody. The more distortion you put on a patch, the more it's going to force that resonance back into the signal. So if we were to turn the distortion off, which I think we could do over here at effect level, maybe. So we have it off. Now if I turn the resonance up, I always remember Z as 3D. This is interesting. Maybe it's a different type of filter. Let's try using a 24. We have different types. Just the three types. So what's fun about it with this XY pad is now you can control the filter and resonance at the same time with one finger, right? And then let's say we want it to have that deep, boiling, hateful. So just by now we've cut down the frequency. We could do the same thing by just using the knob, right? Let's turn that distortion back up. Oh, maybe not that much. A little bit of hatred, right? Right, and now that I've taken my finger off of there, we've pulled it all the way down with the resonance up, and now that's all it is, because it remembers that point. And again, on some synths, like I'm thinking of the JP8000, when you take your finger off the touch strip, right, it jumps back to whatever the default value is. Here, it just stays, which is super useful. It sounds stupid, but it's a little design decision that makes things easy. Hey, a little Italo disco. Bass sound. This one's called Detroit bass. Actually sounds really good. Square bass. Really cool. Steel bass. I think that's maybe kind of like almost like a take my breath away sort of thing. I need to learn that that key pattern. This is WAP lead, wet ass pussy lead. Oh, maybe they meant just WAP, like that's what it sounds like. I assumed it was the Cardi B song Bronze. That's right, Adapt. Gamelan. We're hearing some ring mod or FM there, giving us some nice subharmonics. Also, I don't know if this is a gated one, but we can do gated stuff in here as well. I know, it's kind of funny. It's got an interesting sort of thing to it. I love that this is bringing back the nostalgia. Connor, he had this one. I love also like these titles. It's J-Zab is the sound designer. We've got Fairy. Now that's Fairy Courtesan. So I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but Trance Legend actually did. Fairy Courtesan did some of the presets for this. Not that you'd know from that fucking sound. Yep, transpose right up there. Pliskin, by the way, Pliskin, how you doing, you motherfucking awesome human? Feel like Fairy got really carried away with these. There we go. That's finally a useful one. The other ones might be useful for like some, really out there stuff, but this I could see him actually using in one of his songs. So this is like an example of where the resonance can be like just really digital and really too much. Let's go low. mean, it's a lot, right? I mean, it's a lot. It's a thing. Well, you can almost get into some like DJ Snake sort of. Kind of fun. Tri-laser. This has been pretty good. Yeah, I think what's interesting is it to the to Sean's point, this really does have like a lot of great sounds in it. I think the Nord lead too had the problem of not sounding that amazing and also not having many amazing presets. This has like some great presets in it. You could tell the sound designers really went out of their way. Where the sonic, the sound of it might not be my taste as much. I'm not really into virtual analog synths. What I will say is they do the most with it that they can. Oh yeah. It's giving Blood is Pumping by Voodoo and Serrano. You guys know that one? That's a tough sound, you know, like that's a banger right there. Yeah, transgating, which is, you know, again, kind of takes me into that REFX Vanguard. I know they weren't the first to do it. I'm sure it was in. I'd actually love to know. This is a like a scum trivia question that I would love to answer. What was the first synth that had transgating built in? Was it the 8000? Yeah, I mean, for 250, you know, I think Ferry was just really on something when he made these. Really great. I mean, if for like industrial music, it's, you know, it's right there. Right in that sort of area. Oh, yeah. Give me that Messiah shit. And you know, with something that might not be obvious to people who are new to this channel, but the fucking great people who watch this all the time, they'll know I'm a knob twiddler and I almost never fuck around with shit like this, but this is just like the perfect way to interact with these sounds because you've got two knobs at the same time. A lot of the times XY pads are kind of boring to me. I'm like, what are we doing here? This is bullshit. But because I'm not going to program this, right? Like there's no world where I'm going to dedicate the time to learning how to program this. Although again, it is all right here. I mean, it has the X-Gator. That's their version of, the trance gate. For me, I just love that it says Gator on it because I'm from Florida. And I think we have a sports team that's got Gator in the name. I can't imagine you can't. I just don't know how to do it. I'm sure it's in there somewhere. I'm sure there's a way. Listen to how vocally that reverb sounds. Really a demonstration, a great demonstration of all the different features in here. One thing is that I actually think it's all virtual imperfect, but I could be wrong. There could be some samples in there. Wow. I want to say this is after the K station, Damien. I could hear aliasing up there. Oh, maybe not. Maybe that's an LFO. It is an LFO. It is an LFO. I don't know what it's doing. It might be doing some sort of cross mod. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's got plenty of high end, and I don't really hear any obvious aliasing. I hate that. Beautiful DX70 type stuff. So yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Blofeld, but it doesn't sound as good. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's all virtual analog, like Adapt is saying. Oh, it does. It does have some tiny samples, a little LA type of thing going on. Very silly sound. We got to get away from these organs. Wow. This guy shims. Oh, yeah. And then let's just go to decay. Dirty. I mean, that could be like a Noctmar bass line right there, you know. James, yes, the JD 800, not the JP 8000, has the Voodoo People preset in it, created by Eric Persing. Oh yeah, here, I mean, this is a great. Like, what a great trance sound. Like, to me, you know, comparing it to what was out at the time, this little bitch is not so bad, you know? It's definitely... Yeah, so the X Station is itself a KS series synth. So I want to say there's a difference between the KS series and the Supernova synths, but they are both virtual analog. I think it's probably like the Korg Radius is to the MS-2000, where it is the same basic idea in terms of architecture, but you could say the Radius probably has some improvements, not the exact same, you know, code. Let's see. Yeah, you know that one. We got a patch called Deep Space Nine. There was one of those on the Blofeld. You know. Nice init preset. This is a bad use of resonance. I don't like this guy. I think I played a second ago the riff from Robin S.'s Show Me Love. You know, a lot of these patches haven't been using the built-in arpeggiator, but it's here. Whoa. Yo, cheers, droner. I mean, it is interesting. Who said that? Syntax, is virtual analog making a comeback? I don't know. Is multi-poly enough to say it's a comeback? That's giving Paul Oakenfold, right? Hey, a pluck pad with a lot of reverb. it's a gated RP thing. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fucking fun. Panning is good. I actually agree. I mean, I think they could definitely sell a Supernova plugin. Yeah, I should have probably explained that, Pliskin. So we have basically, what do we have here? We got 5, what is this, 11? Is this, wait, why can't I count? Yeah, I think it's 11 knobs, an odd number there. And we have 2 rows. So when I press this button, you see how little LED jumps from up to down? So we have 11 parameters at the top and then 11 at the bottom here. And then it's divided into oscillators 1, 2, and 3, what the waveforms are. Filter, 12 or 24 decibel per octave. Different types, which is low pass, band pass, and high pass. It doesn't have a notch filter that I could find. We have 2 LFOs, different waveforms for those. Amp envelope trigger, which I'm assuming is so you can do legato, mono type stuff. We've got the X-Gator, the arpeggiator, and then down here, we also have the menus, oscillator, pulse width, mixer, filter, aftertouch breath controller for my boy Sean Johnson, and effects over here. So it's really, a lot happening. As far as the effects, it's got delay. I love it when it's all printed on the synth. I know a lot of people think it's tacky, but it's really nice so you could just read it. I mean, it's like, in some sense, I just taught us all the synthesizer, right? Oh, I didn't even notice here. So this blue line, same thing. We've got like a couple of different LEDs here. I'm assuming as I press them, we sort of move through these. So we got the menus, but then we also have stuff up top here. And then anyways, the effects are delay, reverb, chorus, distortion, EQ, and panning, right? So we have all sorts of stuff like that. Drona says, with the excellent Udo synths and what folks are doing with the third wave, the groove synthesis third wave, I'd say virtual analog comeback is in full swing. To me, Udo and third wave are both hybrid synths, so I kind of think of that as being its own sort of category. Although, a hybrid synth like the Prophet 12 behind me certainly feels like a virtual analog synth with an analog filter as opposed to a hybrid. It's less PPG wave and more JP8000, badass JP8000, but JP8000 nonetheless. With an analog filter. I don't know what you guys think about that. Death by Media, welcome. Worst keybed ever? No way. Have you played a DW8000 or an Ensoniq SQ80? This one feels goddamn nice. Although I don't really know keybeds that well, to be honest. Yeah, I will say this does feel like a cheap plastic MIDI controller, like an M Audio MIDI controller or something like that. It doesn't inspire confidence. And one thing I've noticed, as I've been using it, it's gone away. But when I first turned it on, all of these encoders were really jumpy. I mean, I love the DW8000. It just doesn't have a a good keypad. Ooh. And then it just sort of... Newest M Audio, the Pro line from M Audio is good. Keith is asking, can you use an USB keyboard in it? That's a good question. I wouldn't know the answer to that. I know it's got MIDI ports and it has a USB port, but I don't know if you can run USB MIDI into it. I imagine you could because it's got an interface built in, but I don't want to promise that. The way the keys bottom out on the Zeo if you play heavy is concerning. I don't know what you mean exactly by that, to be honest. I don't mean to be beating the shit out of Rob's synth. Thank you for letting me borrow it, but mine anyways doesn't, I'm not particularly concerned. I mean, it feels pretty good. Like, I don't know. It feels totally normal. Like, I didn't know that was a complaint about the synth. Yeah, I mean, I think the Hydra synth might have a thing or two up on this, but there's a lot to it. I'm definitely not saying you're wrong, Death. I'm just saying in particular this one. Interesting. V station. Love that sound, you know. It's very nice. You know? This is called Juno bass. I own a Juno. I own 2 Junos. Never heard a Juno sound like that. Good unison bass sound. Kind of heard like a clicky bass like that earlier. $349 is good. $349. Rough JX8P I wouldn't fuck around with. $649 is not that good. $750 will get you a great one. In theory. This is a good preset. iPatch Entertainment, welcome. That's good to know. Do you think they still carry the stuff for this? Ah, the Abyssinians. The Abyssinians. How's it going, Dub? Yeah, I would have sex to that. It's growing on me too, Droner. I don't know if Chris Huguet had anything to do with this. I know he did with some of the later Novation stuff like the Peak, but that's an interesting stuff or interesting question. It does these PWM pads pretty good. They're all labeled like OB strings, which, yeah, I don't know. But the XY pad is good, especially for being as old as it is. Mini Nova would be a way to go. Yeah, but these are not bad sounds. This one says Juno X, which is the second time or the first time they've called out a future product that didn't exist yet. Heaven Pluck. There are a lot of sounds in here. Now, for me, virtual analog sounds aren't always my favorite, but I mean, it's very usable in a professional track. You know, like there is a lot of JP8000 sounds, so when I hear them back now, I'm like, wow, virtual analog sounded that shitty back then, you know? And so any sort of deficiency you might hear, you know, in the upper register, I think it's kind of characteristic to the time, and I like it, you know? I don't know, man. I guess I feel like a dirty, nasty-ass hypocrite because I was so negative on the Nord lead, and then we have this fucking little thing, and I'm like falling over for it, but they ate shit in the Nord lead too that sounded as good as this. It didn't have effects. That might be a part of it, but yeah, it's pretty good. Chris Huger was the lead on the Supernova series, the Nova. And then, yeah, so he might not have been the lead on this, but gets drunk in bourbon and takes home a dirty Zeo. I think that's using sample and hold. Yeah, I mean, even the reverb is good. Metallic, but nice. Like, I don't hate it. Filter is the envelope number? Is that what you were saying, Dub? It's not a terrible reverb for a built-in reverb. Not great, but totally fucking usable for trance music, though. Like, fine. Print it. Give it to Tiesto. Let him make $100,000. No thwack. Yeah, a lot of them don't have enough thwack on the envelopes. I see what you're saying. And then the Romplers have the advantage because they can sample a transient, right? How's it going, Mighty Pinto? My man. Mighty Pinto, how's it going? Very cool. Sounds like it's using the delay in almost a comb filtering. Yeah, it is. So the way you can tell that is because that pitch, right, that you're hearing is the same regardless of what key I hit. And so what that tells me is it's a very tight delay, and that's how they got that sound. You can hear it in the background there. Wow. I was thinking of you, Aquatic Borealis, if you're still here, or if you're watching this in the future. Boards of Canada. Very nice. Not nice. Again, you know, really beautiful, right? Sure. Is it gonna give you everything you get from an analog synth? No. But can it sound really professional? Also no. I mean, it's great. I love this little thing. So much of it has to do with expectations, and that's a weird little wrinkle I've noticed in doing so many synthesizer reviews on this channel over the years, is that a lot of the times what I'll love about a synthesizer is a synth that truly achieves the goal it sets out for. So an example of that would be the Monopoly down here, this bad boy. So the Korg Monopoly, the thing about it is, if you try to get it to do what it doesn't want to do, it ain't going to do it, right? But for what it does, nothing does it better. And it's a very specific thing they were going for, and they nailed it, right? And then when I compare that with, and I'm sorry to be picking on the Nord Lead 2, it's just freshest in my memory. But when I compare it with the Lead 2, I go, okay, they set out to make the first virtual analog synthesizer, you know. But now we're talking, especially with the 2, in a world where the JP8000 exists with built-in chorus delay and reverb and really iconic sounding oscillators and filters. When I listen to it, I'm like, okay, but they didn't stick the landing. But in some way, the Nord Lead 2 was attempting more than the Zeosynth is, right? This is very much Novation being like, yo, we're already making a MIDI controller that looks almost exactly like this. Why don't we put a synth engine in it? And someone was like, that's a fucking crazy idea. And they're like, no, just hear me out. And they're like, no, it's fucking crazy. I love it. You know, print it. Let's start printing money by selling these things for $500 a pop. And, you know, it is what it is. It's not gonna be something for everybody, but for what it is, it's actually, she cute, you know? Hey FD, how's it going? Welcome. Definitely one of my favorite patches on here. Think with the Q. One thing about the way they scaled this, and it might be something you can fix in a menu, but a lot of the times the usable area of this XY pad is just this upper right quadrant. Because by the time you're already down here, not that far off of center, we're already kind of pretty dark. So was very good. Modulation on that delay is not bad either. I should have tried the lead with like the full version, but wonder if that's using that same sample. Reverb isn't that bad on this. It's crazy. Paul says the Micro X has like an Eastern feel. I love that. There was an era where everything went like super ethnic patches and stuff. Droner, thank you very much for the donation. I appreciate that very much, my friend. This was called Real Analog, so it better not disappoint. Immediate disappointment. Yeah. Really great velocity response on this all these years. This is almost like 20 years old, right? Rob, thank you very much for gifting 5 channel memberships out. It's awesome of you. No aftertouch, but you wouldn't even get that on the MIDI controller Novation Centimeter review, the most recent one, the Mark III, unless you get the Pro version. So, you know, and what are those go for about the same price of this anyways. Really pretty good. I prefer the resonance characteristic in this. It doesn't drive me crazy the way it did in the Nord. I also think that, you know, the Nord Lead 2 is pretty early in the Nord era. There's obviously a reason that like people use Nords on tour all the time. They're clearly high quality synthesizers, and I'm I'm sure that they now sound really great. To your point, I had no idea, Pliskin, that this synthesizer existed until Rod left it in the back of my car after drinking with me at a bar in the middle of fucking nowhere, Florida. Crank that much, and some of that is obviously the distortion as well, but I mean, it actually is good. Hector C2, how's it going? Yeah, it's pretty damn good. Yo, what's up, Tripwell? I mean, it's very I'm not a virtual analog guy, For me, in if I'm going to do something like this, it would probably be with either an analog synth or with Omnisphere, but it definitely is a thing. Oh yeah, Eric Persing easily is the greatest sound designer, not just my favorite. I mean, I think objectively speaking, who could claim to have made so many famous sounds, Beautiful reverb. Eternian, welcome. Yeah, 49 key would have been really cool too. Tell me, did it have more knobs, or was it like kind of the same knobs and just 49 keys? Because I wouldn't mind a version of this that was actually knob per function. That would be pretty sick. I love these patches like Moog bass. It sounds like a fucking nightmare. You're right, Pliskin. That is funny because I do say it a lot. We need an emoji. What should the emoji be that's like or maybe VA but like crossed out? You know what I mean? Something like that. That would be a funny emoji to have, perhaps. Cheers, guys. Triple, I appreciate it. I'm not a great player. I'm pretty good at like noodling. That's a sick bass line. Woo! One time I when I was shooting the music video for the song Spitfire with Miss FD, I had focused on the look and like getting sure that I had like, you know, really a cool looking murdered out MIDI controller, all this stuff that went into shooting the video, doing my makeup and all of that sort of thing. And I was wearing a lot of guy liner at that point, and it just didn't occur to me that I wouldn't actually know how to play my own synth part on the song, because it wasn't that complicated, but it was enough because there was a pitch bend in it that it took my mind a little bit more, and I just hadn't even thought of practicing it. So I showed up to the shoot and just humiliated myself with an inability to actually play my own synth part. And you know, it's kind of things like that'll make you humble you real quick. So many good ones. They definitely had to edit around my sloppy playing, which is okay. We survived. We made it through. So what this must be using is the bandpass filter, right? Because it gets really kind of dark on the low end. And then if we pull it, I don't know if you can hear me, as we pull it up, we get really thin. You could hear the aliasing up there. But it's not bad. It's a very it's next gen VA from, you know, maybe something like the Lead 2. I wonder how the Supernova handled aliasing. It's good. It's a good synth. It's good. All the synth sounds seem like they come from the Zion scene in Matrix 3. Yeah, you know, Juno Reactor, my hero, did the music for Matrixes 2 and 3. And I actually just saw a video that he posted where he was talking about how he used the monopoly, the original one, of course, for the song Mona Lisa Overdrive. So there was always one sound in it. I knew, I was like, that's got to be the monopoly. But I assumed he used the Andromeda because he had one of those too. There are some songs where it's got, you can just tell it's like a crazy super saw. But as much as Juno Reactor's music certainly has that like 90s virtual analog feel, just because kind of everything sounded like that at that point, mostly he uses vintage synths, you know, to nowadays and stuff, obviously. You know, he's moved on, but what do we got here? Chris, I haven't seen the video yet. I've seen it up in my the thumbnails. XD, and I'd love to check out the K series, especially after having such a positive interaction with this one. Just like such an incredible thing. Although for me, my favorite era of Juno would be the 2000s. So that's starting with Shengo, Labyrinth, which has the music from The Matrix in it, and then Gods and Monsters. For me, that decade is my fave, but they're really Beyond the Infinite. All the early stuff is great, and I like his new music now. It's kind of more psytrancey, but you know. Actually, obviously the dude invented psytrance along with a few other people. What I mean by psytrancey is modern psytrance, right? So he definitely took a few tips from guys like Asterix and stuff like that to kind of update the sound. And for me, it's now a little more like EDM-y, you know. Loving these big, dark pianos with just the hint of a tine and like a bizarre amount of wet, low pass reverb. It's so good. I actually think that's as good of a place as any to give it a shot for today, because you know it's a good synth. I don't know what else to say about it. It's very cool. You know, is it good enough for professional use? I think I'm going to leave that up to you guys, because I don't think I'm biased, right? I'm biased, and that's okay. You know, I can give you guys my viewpoint, but I think it is important for you to use your own ears and figure it out for yourself, because we all have different things that we gravitate to in sound. So, you know, for instance, I might get really into like the difference between filter resonance on a couple of analog synthesizers, right? But what we just heard with that bandpass filter is, in some sense, sonically more interesting, definitionally, than the difference in filter resonance between two analog synths with just 24 decibel per octave low pass filters. It's not to say that my work here, mein Werk, is, you know, moot, but I do understand that. I think part of it is I grew up in an era of VSTs where we all had VSTs, cracked software, shit like that, and you could do anything, right? So the idea of that, like having a synth that could do a cool new, you know, gated arpeggio bandpass thing, that was just the bar for when I started. It was like everything could do that. I understand that if you started in the 90s and you're like, holy shit, now these synths all have like all these multi-mode stuff that wasn't, there's very few synths in the 80s that had that sort of a thing. So I get it. I get why people went apeshit over VA. It's just now, from where I'm at, I get more excited about the stuff that's a little bit more, it has that little magic texture to it. And then I really do like the romplers and the what I call ultraviolet synths, the synths that have that, you know, sample plus synthesis type thing. It's a different kind of sound than the virtual analog from like 1995 onward. It's sort of that 87 to 95 era is pretty good. Johann Blaze, I haven't checked him out. I'll have to look into it. Crystal. Yeah, I think it was great. I think it was fun, Rob. Thank you for letting me borrow your Zeosynth. I see why you said this is like your travel synth, or what you'll take with you if you're on an airplane or something. Because it's small, it's good, it sounds good. I don't know. I guess I'm just constantly shocked by how it sounds better than I would have thought. A Juno D88 is I want a band in a box. I haven't checked it out. I saw one at my job actually a week or two ago, so it was interesting. You owned one of these, FD. I didn't know that. I mean, here's the thing. You've got enough stuff that sounds really good. I don't know that this is going to compete with Omnisphere, you know? But it's fun that it has everything kind of built into it, and you just pull up sounds and go. It was gritty. It had a grit to it. It was nice. I liked it. So I haven't checked out Alchemy by Camel Audio, because that's what I used all the time in my early records until I got into Omnisphere. But I haven't checked it out. Obviously, I'm not a Mac person, so I don't know what it's like nowadays as compared to back in the glory days. Chris, I want your opinion on the Hydrasynth desktop. That would be a great place to end the stream. I'd love to get my hands on a Hydrasynth at some point. Of the digital synths, that's the one, right? So what do you think about it? What do you think about the key bed? People seem to not like the key bed. Is the Zeo the Angel's Envy? I think Zeo... I don't know. What's a good example of Zeo? For me, Zeo is like the Bushmills of Irish whiskey. It's dependable. It's good. It's not bad, but it's not like trying to be some sort of fancy single malt. No, sir. This is for, the boys back in Ireland. It's just a classic Irish whiskey, and that's what I think Zeo is, Oh, right. You got the pads, of course. But it has polyphonic aftertouch pads. So you like the pads. What do you think about yeah. But to be honest, to get that oomph the analog players are looking for. So what do you mean by that? I'm so sorry. FD says it was great for playing live shows, small enough to make it convenient for traveling, but definitely agree that the keybed wasn't great. I guess, here's the thing, is like the keybeds on all of these synths suck, right? Like vintage synth keybeds are not great. There's a few that are fine, but most of them aren't great. So I'm kind of used to it. With the Zeo, I didn't notice it at all. I didn't notice that there was anything. A keybed to me felt really nice. I don't know. Maybe Rob's just kept it in good shape or something. Yeah. Ingolf, welcome. The presets are, that's what we had in the 80s. Pate Laros, welcome. Yeah, I didn't mind it. I do like the polyphonic aftertouch idea of the keybed. I've heard people say that it's not good though. Just curious, Pate. I would love to check out Pigments because I haven't. And it's kind of the omnisphere of the Arturia world. So it'd be interesting to know. I don't really use the Arturia V collection at all, so... And there's a few good 88 keys out there, but when you want to go 88 keys, especially with like piano weighting, you're almost better off getting just like a great MIDI controller and then use that. Econ says, Hydrasynth feels like a premium experience. No issues with the keybed. It's not as nice as Fatar, but it's good enough. Yeah. Would love to check out the Poly Aftertouch. So interesting. Oh, it's definitely need to use the EQ effects on the post or pre-effects to give it the warmth that people are talking about it lacking. It definitely has a sound. It's not just digital either. It's got a sound. It's got a certain thing that it does. So... who knows? Maybe one day we'll check it out on the stream. I'm not in a hurry to check out any modern synths. It's not really my cup of tea most of the time, but I was going to say I never turn anything down. That's not true. I actually turn down more than 50% of the companies that reach out to me. Easily more than 50% now. I only do reviews of gear that I'm gonna have at least something positive to say about. I'm maybe too nice of a person to want to just really get into hating a new piece of gear, because I'm aware of the fact that most of these companies are really small. It's just like a small team of people, and they're just trying to pay their bills. And one thing I've noticed too is nuance is often lost on the masses. Not y'all, because y'all, the real scum snobs out there, I appreciate you. But when it comes to when I post a video and it goes out like to a wider audience, I've noticed that if I say something is like good but not great, that translates to don't buy. And just no one's going to buy it after a review like that. Whereas really, I'm trying to give it like a 85% score, right? And especially if the price point's good, that's maybe a good thing for somebody. But it's a little binary with how people receive reviews. It's either a yes or a no at the end. And so I try to only review stuff that's a yes for me. Like Erica Synth's Steam Pipe was a yes. Awesome. You know? So... yeah, I'm lucky enough to have enough room, but even now I'm like, ooh, I'm kind of out of room. Synths are stacking up on the walls over there. Nectar 88 is good. Dirtbox. Harmonic Sonics, I actually did a video on Dirtbox way back in the day on the Chord Prologue. I think I did anyways. It was good. There is a lot, the physical modeling oscillator is really cool on that, and then to be able to run that through. I don't think there's any physical modeling analog synths now. It's synths with analog filters, that is. But yeah, Harmonic Sonics, I was quite impressed by the Zeo tonight. I try to be, Damien. It's hard. It's harder than you would think to really nail the right amount of honesty, which, you know, on some level it might seem like the answer is 100% honesty, but it's also like, I want to be, let me say it this way, like I brought this up before. There's a company that reached out to me. I won't say the name of the company. They put out a recreation of the RE501. I have an RE501. So I was like, great, I'll do a comparison. And they're way the fuck off. Like, it was clear to me that they didn't do their homework. It didn't sound anything like it, whatever. I spoke to some other industry insiders and they were like, oh yeah, they don't care. Whatever. And I was like, but I'm still aware of the fact that it's like 4 or 5 people. So I'm like, what do I do? Do I put out a video roasting them? You know, like what? I mean, maybe for the schadenfreude of it all, it's kind of fun, but I don't want to be the guy who's cutting into their numbers. I'd rather just focus on the positive, you know. I would make an exception for like big companies, like really big ones that you know are making like crazy amounts of money. I'd be okay with roasting them if they put out some shit, because they shouldn't be, right? But when it's more on an indie level, I'm not as interested in being cruel. I don't know. Chris, no. The Zeosynth is not analog at all. Don't say the D word. I don't know what the D word is. But anyways, I think that's a great place to call it for the evening. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Next week's stream should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. Continue to be excellent, and I will see you guys all next week.